Jason, dude, thank you so much for joining. And for those of you who've listened since the beginning, this is actually Joey's brother. He did the first podcast episode with us, and this is his brother Jason. And Jason, thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Absolutely, man.
No, of course, man. I was speaking with Joey for lunch today. We're in Jersey today, visiting people for visiting family for the holidays, and yeah, he mentioned like what a great dad you are. Just like despite any adversity or anything going on, is like he's an incredible dad. And I wanted to ask, like, how many kids you got? What are their names?
Um, I have five in total. One that's not biologically mine, but I've been raising her since she was 4 years old. She is now 13. My oldest son is Isaiah, and he's 20 years old. I have a 18-year-old daughter named Liliana. I have a 13-year-old son named Juan Gabriel, and my stepdaughter's name is Rosalia. And then I have my little baby son, Elias, and he's 4 years old.
Nice. And tell me, what is one of your happiest moments so far as a dad?
Um, I gotta say, it's watching their accomplishments, man. It's you don't. I can't explain the happiness, bro. That feeling that you get inside, bro, it's just ridiculous, man. Like watching my daughter walk across that stage, watching her graduate high school, watching, my son graduate high school, especially him. It was like, when I got him, he was living with his mom in Florida,
Mhm.
and when I got him, it was just like, oh, I need you to take your son because he needs his dad type of thing, and I live all the way in upstate and I can only parent for so much over the phone, you know.
Mhm.
So when I got him, I remember, getting him into school and stuff, and they were looking at his transcripts, and it was just like, you're better off letting him take his GED. And it was just like, what? you
Mhm.
know. So to watch him cross the stage and be able to, look at everybody that he said, why just let him take a GED, just let him take the easy way out. That was probably one of the biggest accomplishments that I've seen with my kids, and I'm like overwhelmed. You know what I mean? With happiness, and
Wow.
it's just watching them. Watching them be better than me. It's probably better said. You know what I mean? I've been through a lot. I've watched a lot. I've done a lot. So to be able to change their whole setting, from where I grew up at, to change their whole setting, their whole mindset, and build this concrete foundation, it was great to watch them grow. You know what I mean?
It's such an accomplishment because it's like your son's accomplishment is not just his, it's yours. And it's not just yours, it's the whole family's. And just like it's so easy. Like I can totally see this coming more from like your parents saying like, hey, let them take the easy way out, let them do this. And it's like, but like even just like kind of like the authority figures in our life, like this kid's
Mhm.
teachers, or even the people that we respect and admire, and like they're telling us these certain things, and it's like, no, that's not the way I'm gonna let this go. And
Right,
I'm gonna be the man, I'm gonna be the father, and I'm gonna guide him as best as I can. And in case with your son, it's like, yeah, it's his decision to do the same. And dude, being able to not only have the seed of the thought, but then see the fruit of it.
right. Is that was the big thing, because as soon as he heard GED, his like eyes like lit up, and he's just like, "Dad, I can do my GED and I can get a job." And I'm like, "Yeah, you could, but that's not the way it's gonna be." you
Well,
know
tell
what
me,
I
what was
mean?
his thought after? It's like, so that's his thing. He's like, dude, I could totally do this. This is so much easier. And you saw something greater for him.
Mhm.
What was, did he ever revisit that when he came, like when he finally graduated and came back? Like, did he ever say anything with regard?
Um, I remember that, that day super clear because just like you said before, it was like it's not just him, you know what I mean? It's the foundation and the push that I'm giving him and seeds that I'm planting in his brain. You know what I mean? I really saw that after we left. We were walking back to the car after he had graduated, and he looked at me. He was like, "Yo, Dad, thanks." And I was like, "Thanks." He was like, "Yeah," because I mean, I could have easily went and took my GED, and that would have been that. He said, "But you kept pushing me, and you kept pushing me and pushing me. No matter how hard things got in school or how I looked at things and I felt like I couldn't do it. It was you. You kept pushing me. You know what I mean? And it was like hearing that was probably like the best thing in the world. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like, bro, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
you know?
Not including that moment. And again, you have 5 kids, so I'd love to hear for each of them, what is your proudest moment as a father with each of your kids?
Um, you know, I've been around a lot of people that are not, very like a part of their kids. You know what I'm saying? And I see it time and time again. But just the fact that knowing that, my kids love me the way they do,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something in life. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, countless times I hear, kids say, "Man, I don't care about my dad," or "I don't care about my mom," or. So to see every day, to walk through that door every day, and they're like, "Dad, what's up? I love you. Da, da, da. How was your day?" Da, da, da," it's
Mm-hmm.
those things, man, that makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. You know what I mean? But as I see them grow, and they're accomplishing all these great things in life, you know what I'm saying? I'm just basically just happy to be here to be able to witness it all. You know what I'm saying? It's been a rough ride, man. It's been a real rough ride for me, man. So for me to stand where I am now, it's a good place, man. I feel good. I just It's weird, man, because I'm going through all this and I'm going through in just regular life, but
Mm-hmm.
just to look at my surroundings, see where I'm at right now, you know, I'm like, wow, bro, it's a long way. I've came a long way, you know.
For those of you who are not seeing this because you're hearing it, I definitely invite you to open the recorded version of this on the website because, dude, look at Jason's smile. Like this guy's smiling the whole time, not just about his kids, but like it's like yeah, like look at where I've come from, look at where I've been. I think it's not something that we as people. It's so easy for us to focus on everything that we've done wrong, everything that we could have done better, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I know I need to do this. It's just so much judgment. It's very easy to glance over the accomplishments, the achievements. Even a small win is still a win.
Right, right,
It's easy to
absolutely.
glance over the wins and not acknowledge that. And to me, it's just to me the way I see you is like, wow, you're like you do this innately. Your kids obviously see this, and it gives them the opportunity to do the same for themselves, to really truly acknowledge yourself in a humble way.
Right,
Because,
absolutely, man.
dude, oh,
I
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. I constantly push them, man. Anything, I always tell them, I don't care what it is you want to do, just be great at it, be the best. You know what I'm saying? And I that's just like kind of like my motto. I'm like, bro, you could do this. But not only can you do it, but you could do it better than anybody else can do it.
There's a great analogy, not analogy, but like, so I'm reading this book from a great coach called The Ultimate Coach. His wife wrote it about him. It's an incredible book, and in it he
Oh,
speaks about his kids, and or not he speaks about it. His wife and this other co-author wrote about it, and there's an instance where they speak about one of their kids, and one of the kids mentioned, I think it's Brooke. I don't remember which child said this, but he's like, my dad taught us to play basketball aggressively. Like we would steal the ball from each other. From me and my brother, I would steal the ball, and then when it was time to play the game, I would steal the ball from we weren't allowed to steal the ball until they crossed the half court line. And he
Right.
was like looking at this kid, and this kid got the ball, he crossed, and he would steal the ball, and he did a layup. He did it one time, he did it a second time. The third time he wanted to do it, the kid punched him in the face. The
Oh
kid got
wow.
kicked out of the game. And they're like regrouping. He goes to his dad. He's like, "Why did he punch me in the face? Like, I was just playing the game, and I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't disrespect him. I wasn't mean. I didn't say anything bad." And his dad was like, he spoke to him plainly. He was like, "Look, he punched you in the face because he didn't like it that you were stealing the ball."
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
And for him, he made the decision. He was like, and I think there's a conversation with his dad. Like, look, you can either not steal the ball and play less intensely, or play the game intensely and risk getting punched in the face.
Right.
And the powerful analogy there is like, there are times where I'm going to play the game. And if I play full out, there's a chance where I'm going to get hurt. There's a chance where I'm going to misstep. There's a chance where I'm going to lose. There's a chance when I'm going to get punched in the face. That's life. That's
Right.
business. If you own a business, you definitely know what it's like to lose before you win. But playing full out, that is what gets you something worthwhile. Your son, he risked getting punched in the face by not taking the GED. And by punch in the face, I mean the metaphorical thing of like losing.
Right.
And he chose to go. And look at what he got at the end of the road.
There's like, a few things. Not only do I tell them, but I tell everybody, either the cup is half empty or it's half full. It's
Mm.
it's how you look at it. You know what I mean? And if you think you got it bad, I promise you, pull out your phone, look through your contacts, look through your text messages. I promise you, you will find 5 people that got it worse than you or
Mm.
more. You know what I'm saying? I think, that whole like getting punched in the face by life, that's gonna come forever. You know what I mean? It's not the punch, it's how you get back up. You know what I mean? Eventually, if the same person comes to punch you in the face every day, you're gonna start to learn how to slip. You know what I mean? Slip to the side, slip in, you know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
it's just it's how you take it. And I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, my son comes home from work sometimes, like, yo, dad, and he starts telling me, I'm like, listen, man, it's one, it's the corporate world. It's just the way it works. Two, are you really gonna let that gentleman live in your head rent free? Like rent,
Mhm.
he's living in your head. You took this home with you. That's how bad it is. And he just looks at me and he just shakes his head and he's like, man, when you put it like that, I'm like, yeah, I know. But that's what it is.
It's a powerful choice. How many of us, I know for me, it's not so much the thing that happened, what's the meaning that we're attaching to it, and how
Right.
are we bringing that and holding on to that resentment, that anger, that frustration? How are we letting that live rent free in our heads? And then the idea is like, okay, what can we do? But dude, you're an awesome coach. There's a reason you're a great dad. I love
I
it,
just,
man.
there's like, man, you could spend so much time just wallowing in it and like, yo, this is going on, that's going on. Or you could take that same energy and be like, what am I going to do to take care of this problem, take care of that problem, take care of that problem? You know what I mean? I think a lot of people nowadays, you know what I'm saying, are doing that. They're spending so much time like, wow, man, I'm in so many problems. I'm like, yeah, well, what are you gonna do to fix it though, man? There's a fix, but that comes with change. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not willing to change self first,
Mhm.
then nothing behind that changes. Nothing after that will ever change. You know what I'm saying? And I'm constantly telling my kids that, like, you gotta change. Something you're doing isn't right. You know what I mean? And sometimes that means you got to open up your mind a little bit more. You know,
What are you going to do to fix it?
right?
Because a lot of times, like if we look at like everything going on, like it's like, who's going to save us? Is it going to be the next president? Is it going to be the next government thing? Like, how is someone else, like, no, how are you going to change it? How are you going to
Right.
create that change? There's no one else. And I think that's a powerful thing for you, not just for you. I think that's a powerful thing as I learn what it means to be a dad. Like that goes hand in hand with I want to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to fish for you every time, just in the beginning, but you have to learn how to do. I think that's, I know for me growing up, that was something that I kind of resisted. And I was like, no, I want someone else has the answers. And it's because I
Right.
didn't trust in myself um, until I did. And well, Jason, I'm curious, what is your biggest regret as a dad?
Um, my biggest regret as a dad was my first maybe 3 or 4 years of my oldest son's life. Um, I was 18 years old, about to turn 19.
Mhm.
I was. I mean, just to put it out the way it was, I was being ignorant. You know what I mean? I could have been a better dad. I was too caught up in, oh, she's with somebody else, and oh, this and oh that. You know what I mean? We were kids having a kid. You know, those 4 years of his life, I kind of like I missed out a lot because I wasn't there. You know what I mean? And it was. I think every time it's weird. Like every time I look at him, these are things that I just like replay in my head. You know what I mean? So I always feel like I'm playing catch up. You know what I mean? I always feel like I'm playing catch up. Even though me and him have conversations about it, and he said, Dad, I don't even remember that. I always remember like you were here all the time, but he may not remember, but I do. So I think if it was one of the biggest regrets, that's probably it right there. You know what I mean? I could have been a better dad the first 3 or 4 years of his life. You know what I mean? And that's something that I can't take back. So I'm constantly always trying to, make it right. Even though he doesn't, in his eyes, like I said, in his eyes, he's just like, Dad, I don't remember that. Don't even worry about that, you know. But I remember it. So it's I think that situation made me a better dad the next time, you know. And then from that time, I was still growing up. And that situation made me a better dad the next time. And here I am, and my son's 4 years old, and I've been here every day, man. I've been able to see him, you know, walk. I've seen, I remember he came out and he was crying, and my lady says, go grab him from the nurse. So I grabbed him, and I remember him staring into my eyes, man, and it was just like, and he just stopped. He stopped crying right then and there. And he just kept staring at me, and I kept staring at him, and it was just like, yo, I get to do this right this time. You know what I'm saying? I really get this time to like really see it from now, and he's now 4 years old, and I got to see everything. I got to experience everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely like, I guess if I could tell anybody else, if you've been in my situation where you've, had situations with your baby mother, and try to make it right, man. Try to make it right. If you're a real father, man, and you really love your kids, you know, you'll you'll be thinking about this when they get older. You know what I'm saying? You'll be saying to yourself, man, them 3 or 4 years or whatever the one. When me and your mother was beefing, things wasn't right and this, and I'm lost out, and so you're gonna be wishing that you got that time back. So, you know,
When you mean by you get to do it right this time, what do you mean exactly by that? If you don't mind me asking.
um, as when I had my 17-year-old daughter, she's only 3 years apart from my other son. I was still trying to find myself.
Mhm.
You know, I was like fully into the streets. You know what I mean? That never stopped me from financially being there. But as men that we are now, we all know that finances don't do it all. It's not
Mhm.
just about finances. You know, time is more important than finances. You know, Everybody go ahead and jump on Google right now and see if you could buy you some time, because you can't. These are things you can't get back, moments and memories that you could have made that you don't, you know. So as I had my 17-year-old daughter, you know, now that she's 17, but 18, I mean, at that time I was still trying to find myself. You know what I mean? I'm fully into the streets. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with myself, you know. So I wasn't the greatest dad then either. You know, it was all trials. You know what I'm saying? So as I grew, I always tell my oldest son this. I say, yo, me and you, man, we grew up together. You know, and there's a big fact to that because when I had him, I was only 18.
Mhm.
You
Did you feel
know,
this? Did you feel the same with your two 13-year-olds, Juan Gabriel and Rosalia?
nah. Uh, you know, with Juan Gabriel and Rosalia, it was like, all right, I've kind of perfected this. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
they're, you know, I've got to see them. But being that Liliana and Juan Gabriel have the same mother, so when
Mhm.
me and her, after 11 years, we were together, you know, we separated. So with the problems of me and her, you know, her being like, well, you know, I don't no, I don't want you to come get them, you know, and
Mhm.
her just being bitter and her, you know, it was kind of like, I guess it's hard to explain the story without knowing the story before, you know. My dad, my dad was how can I say, you know, he had two daughters prior to having me, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
he had a marriage and all that. And his kid's mother was super bitter. You know, he didn't get a chance to raise his daughters the way he wanted to, you know, and she would hide them from him. He would, you know, she would say, hey, come and get them, and then not allow him to take them when he got there. You know, he's driving all the way from Elizabeth, New Jersey out to the Bronx, to the South Bronx.
Mhm.
For her to say, he's like, dude, you just said I could come get them. And he shows up and she's like, nope, can't have them, you know, and she was bitter like that, you know, so he didn't get a chance to raise them. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So I look at that and I say, you know, he could have pushed harder, you know what I'm saying, to make it right. And
Mhm.
I see, I learned from that, you know, I learned from that. And no matter what me and her were going through, I was just like, I'm always going to be there. You know, I'm always going to be in your face. Whether you like me or not, it don't matter. These are my kids and I'm going to raise them. So when I had gotten to, you know, when I had Juan Gabriel, at that point, my mind was just set. It was just like, I'm doing this for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. You know, I made the mistake with Isaiah and Liliana. You know what I'm saying? I know I could do this better, and from that point on, I felt like I don't know, man. Something about me I just grew. I grew up to be a better person. You know, not take so much to the heart. You know, not make decisions based on feelings.
Mhm.
You know, and make decisions based on what's best for them. You know, so I when I had gotten to Liliana, I mean to Rosalie and Gabriel, it was just like I'm always here now. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. There's no. At this point, I'm a full-time working dad. No more streets. No more hanging out. No more bar hopping. No more. You know, this is what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So my heart was set, and sometimes, like I say, I'm always playing catch up, man. I'm always, and even though none of them think so, none of them are like. They're all like, "Dad, you've always been here." You know, but
Mhm.
I guess that's just me getting older, man. You know what I mean?
I love that because there's a wisdom there, and like look, like you're obviously a different man than you were at 18. You have five kids at now, and at 18 you had one, and it's different. And it's like it's kind of also that thing, like if you ever see kids who are like two very like separated by maybe a decade or two, like 20-year-old and maybe this one's like two or three, and like
Right.
it's like, huh, like like mom and dad raised me a certain way, but mom and dad are raising them a certain way, and it's just
Mhm.
like it's just different. different stages of life create different parenting. Different parenting obviously creates different results. And I think there's a cool, I think there's also just a testament to you as a man is like, no, like I want to make up for that time because you just know more.
Oh
You know
yeah,
more.
man. Let me tell you, man, I tell myself every day, I'm like, yo, man, why you ain't just listen to your father? You know, my father would always beat knowledge into me, like, bro. It's like he would tell me, I'm giving you the cheat sheet to life, man. Just follow it and you'll be where I'm at now 15 years before I got there, you know. And I find my, you know how sometimes you hear your mom, or when we were younger, we would say, man, mom, please. Like she always saying that. She, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
pops, come on, man. You always saying that. Man, I'll never be like my dad, they say. And here I am, harping on my kids, just like my dad harped on me. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's a different respect. I mean, I'm younger than my dad was. You know what I'm saying? When around the time that all this was happening, you know, I think I can relate to them more.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot. You know what I mean? That I can relate to them more. I'll tell you, it's been one hell of a journey, man. But I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't. And they every my kids. I look at my kids and I can tell you exactly where I was in that, where I was in life, and what I was doing, and how I was living. You know, they they are. I see them, and I say to myself, man, I've came a long way. I'm happy, bro. You have no idea.
I love it, man. And I'm curious, what is it that you had in your relationship with your dad, or your mom, or even both of them that you're recreating in your relationship with your kids?
Um, I can't. I wouldn't say recreating. You know what I'm saying? My parents worked a lot. You know, we always had great places to live. We never went without for anything. You know what I mean? But you know, being that was like I had too much time on my hands. My parents were never home. They were always working. You know what I'm saying? But here I am, 13, 14 years old, and I'm like, nobody home, party time, come home whenever you want, type of deal. You know what I'm saying? And I guess I wouldn't recreate, but I will say that, you know, money isn't everything. Money is not everything. Be there for them. You know what I'm saying? And if there's anything that I took away from my parents was work, 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 work. You know what I'm saying? My parents, they were there financially. They weren't there for, the other stuff. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So I wouldn't recreate any of that. You know what I mean? To this day, my boys at my job, they're like, bro, you don't want to stay for the overtime? And every time somebody says that to me, I think about my dad. Was
Mm.
that the same situation he was in? Yo, you don't want to stay for this overtime? Yeah, you know what? I'll go get this money. At what cost? You know what I'm saying? How much how much time do you want to take away from your family to give to a company, a business, whatever the case may be that will replace you fast? You know what I'm saying? So if anything that I took away from my parents, like I said, it was always being hardworking and always be there for each other, no matter what we were going through. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brothers, my sisters, we were always together. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's one thing I will take away, you know what I mean? And I will recreate was the love that us as siblings had together. You know what I mean? My father and my mother would always tell us like, yo, all y'all got is y'all. You know what I'm saying? You don't ever run on your brother, you don't, your sister, you don't, I remember my sister fighting battles for me when I was a kid. My oldest sister is fighting to get my bike back. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would take that from him and I would want to recreate that. You know what I mean? And I think I'm seeing it unfold in front of my eyes. You know, my oldest son looks after his 13-year-old brother and sister, you know, like if they were his kids. I could walk out this house and he'll cook them something if need be. You know what I mean? And these are all things that when my parents weren't home, my sister would cook us something to eat. You know what I'm saying? My brother
I'm
would always.
curious, where do you think that comes from? Because the more men I've spoken to, like I'm thinking about, again, I'm not a dad yet, but I am thinking about this in relation to like how we do anything is how we do everything. So for
Mhm.
me, like before I met Maria, you can even like you can just ask my mom and my sister. Like I would sacrifice a lot of time. Like I look back and I'm like, wow, like there's like my grandpa passed away, and I'm like, hmm, there's so many vacations or so many times I could have gone to Colombia and just like spend time with them. Like I'll never have those memories
Right.
because I was putting my goals, my business, and the things that I wanted to achieve first. And I look back on it, and I'm like, at that time, and sometimes even now, I'm like, that is so important to me. I want to be a man who achieves something. I want to be a man who creates what I want to create. And I'm much more cognizant about it now than I'm much more aware of it now than I was then, because it's like now I'm married. I'm like, okay, but that time that I have with my wife, like this is valuable time. She's in dental school. So like she's 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm not seeing her throughout the week. So during the
Right.
holidays, I'm with her. I'm like, I want to spend time with her. But at the same time, in the back of my mind throughout these days, I'm like, okay, but I do want to study. I do want to read. I do want to do my coaching stuff. I want to build my business.
Mhm.
And for you, I'm hearing is like, look, I have that's something I want to do too, but that's not my highest value. Like to me, at least for me seeing you, like that is not my highest value. My highest value is being there for my kids. I want to be there
It,
for my kids more than anything. Where do you
yeah,
think?
not only just for them, but for her too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yo, you like I said before, you could go on Google right now. You can't buy time, man. And the day that, God forbid, anything had happened to her, to you, the last thing you're gonna be thinking about is money, businesses, or anything like that, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's cool to it's great to be great and accomplish your goals. Nothing wrong with that. You know, as for her too,
Mhm.
you know, accomplish those goals too. But you always have to make that block and that space and say, all right, you know, from this time to this time, whether it be if need be, and I got to turn off my phone, then that's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And make that time, man. Make that time because time slips away from us. As humans, you know, we trying to squeeze in 30 hours in a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't work. You know, and on top of that, you need rest. You know what I'm saying? You can knock out 5 to 8 hours depending on how you know how people sleep. Some people even sleep more. You know, but
Dude, I'm like, I resent the fact that my body needs 8 hours of sleep. Like, no, like, I wish you didn't need that much.
for
And I
real,
think
man.
it's like, what's some advice that you would have for a man who, and again, I'm speaking my experience. Again, I'm not a dad yet, but I think this is also like there are men who feel this way. And I think it's easy to kind of be judged, like not judged, but it's kind of easy to see them like, why did you focus so much on this than me? And I know for a lot of men, it's like, because I want you to have what I didn't have. And that's what they
Oh
think
yeah.
is most important at the moment. What is some
Mhm.
advice that you have for the man who wants to, he wants to, he wants to want to be with his kids more than anything before he wants to, well, how do I word this? He want like, what's the advice that you have for the man who doesn't spend so much time with his kids because he's so focused on feeding them. He wants to provide for them. He wants them to be proud of him. He wants to put food on the table. He wants to take care of the housework. Maybe I spoke to a man. He spent one of his biggest regrets was spending so much time finishing two basements. He could have used
Mhm.
that time to be with his kids.
right.
I'm curious, what is some advice that you have for that man who's focusing so much on
Um,
that?
find the balance, man. I think us as men, especially us as fathers, we trying to find that balance. Um, the way I find my balance is I've gotten to a place in my life where it's just like certain, like Sundays is my day for them. You know what I'm saying? I work 6 days a week. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always at work, whether that be 8 to 10 hours. But I always, every day, take time to talk to them, to reach out. You know what I'm saying? Not all my kids live with me, you know. So I take that gap out of my day just to call them and say, hey, what's going on? How was your day? What, because, especially if you're not living in the household, you know, if you're not living in the household, then those phone calls are special, even if they're only 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or when you walk into the house, if you do live with them and walk into the house, them little 5 minute conversations, they mean a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy to find a balance at all. Life gets by us so fast, man. So I think the best advice I think that I would give is, if just like you made time to do that basement, you made time to, in your instance, do a podcast, you made time to do this, you did. Put that same energy you had when you wanted to make that time for that basement, or you wanted to make time for X, Y, and Z. Put your family at the top of that list. Make that that spot. You know what I mean? That little gap. Make sure that that happens every day. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
you got my gears spinning on this one. I love it. And well, my question to you is, if you could go back in time with each of your kids,
Hmm.
what would you do the same?
What would I do the same?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I mean, I don't. I think I would keep everything the way it is. You know what I'm saying? We learn, we learn from our flaws. You know what I mean? I think that if I had to do it the same, if I could do it all over, all the way around, the same with all of them, I mean, I would just always be there. You know what I'm saying? Because Elias, that he's 4, he sees me every day. You know,
Hmm.
so if I can do the same thing all over again with all 5 of them, that would be it for me to be there every day. You know what I mean? How I prioritize them now should have been the way I prioritized them when I was younger. You know, so that's I'll tell you is the biggest things. How can I put this? The biggest thing to me about them is just me being there, man. You have no idea how much that changes a kid's life, bro.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Being like your presence, you know what I'm saying? Just being there, you know what I'm saying? So if I could do it all over again and it be all the same, from the way Elias has it, the youngest one to the oldest one, it's being like having my presence there in their face all the time. You know what I'm saying? And that would be it. You know, I don't think I'll tell you, man, I'm still playing catch up, bro. I'm still playing catch up, man. And even though they don't see it, I'm still sitting here fighting and trying to play catch up with them, you know.
I think there's you answered both my questions of what would you do the same, what would you do differently. And I would definitely, like, to me it doesn't sound like it's catch up. I think it to me is like, I want to, there's still an intention to be their father. Your son is 20 years old, like it's not over for you. You're
Oh
never
man,
done with it. But it's like, I know more now. Let me get this information I got now and give it to you.
right. Absolutely, man. I just want, I want them to be able to be in a place in life where they can do what they need to do, and be confident and know that I'm right there, right behind them, giving them the push. You know,
Mhm.
I may not agree with all the decisions, but sometimes you gotta let them fall, stand over them, and extend your hand and say, "I told you, man. Get up so we could do this right this time." You know what I'm saying? So it's important, man.
Mhm.
It's important to be a great dad. It's every day I'm still learning because it never ends. It never ends, especially if you're the type of person that wants to grow,
Mhm.
just in general. It never ends, man. I think every day I learn something new. Every day I take something from somebody else, whether that person be older or younger than me. I've learned to listen more and not talk so fast. You know what I'm saying? Uh, these are things that I'm trying to pass down to them. My son can be hot headed sometimes. My son can be hot headed sometimes, and it's like, bro, take a deep breath, take a breather, bro. Relax. It's not that serious, man. It could be worse. I promise you that. you know.
I'm curious, what is your reason why? Because I feel so much love. There's just so much intention, so much like I want to make sure not just that you do it right, but like that you're doing it right every day. And I'm curious, like why?
Um, like I said before, I pretty much raised myself. You know, um, my parents, they spent a lot of time working.
Yeah.
My brother at the time, he had just met Carol. He's starting his own thing. You know what I'm saying? This is the beginning of, them like starting their own life. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? They're headed down that path. So I not that I didn't have him there, but he's focused on his girl. He's got this, my niece is just born. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
he's got responsibilities. This ain't Joey that I'm like, yo, come on, bro, let's go hang out. Let's go do something. Now everything has to be planned. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are things that I can't just call them and say, hey man, let's go take care of this and let's do this. So, I raised myself, man. So because I had that whole like feeling where I've always been like, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. And I went through so much by myself. I
Mhm.
don't ever want them to do that. I don't ever want them to have that like, oh, nobody's here for me, nobody got my back type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm constantly in their face. I mean, let's get this. Let's do. What do you want to do? I remember my daughter. She's like, man, I don't know if I want to go to college, and I'm like, yeah, well, you're gonna go to college. Let's figure it out. And here she is. She's in college. For just finished her first semester. You know, taking the training to be able to take care of the elderly at home,
Mhm.
at their homes and stuff like that. This is an 18-year-old girl, man, and she's out there doing her thing. College, job trainings, you know, I couldn't ask for anything else, man. Like, I know, like, I couldn't even see half of this of what I see with my kids and myself at the time.
Mhm.
You know, we're talking about, my 14-year-old kid, man, stealing cars and selling drugs, bro. Like, by the time I was 18, I had done more than your average 30-year-old man. So I grew up super fast, man. I grew up super fast. I don't want them to be like that. I'm like, be a kid,
Mhm.
enjoy it. you know what I mean? Go to college. Go to college out of state if you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Mhm.
experience all of that. because I didn't have that. I didn't experience that. Not because I couldn't have that opportunity, because I had that same opportunity everybody else had.
Mhm.
I just happened to choose the streets more than I decided to, actually put my head into something, you know.
I think there's a
So,
deep wisdom to what you just said. Like, I had that opportunity, but I chose this.
mhm.
There's a, it has nothing really to do with this podcast. It's just you as a man. Is something I wanted to highlight because it's like we all like circumstances are circumstances. Life is life. At the end of the day, what is our choice? And mm,
Well, first, I mean, you got to take ownership first. I mean, that's the beginning of changing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Take ownership of your wrongs. You know what I'm saying? And say, all right, well, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, but yesterday you can't change, man. Tomorrow you can though, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after. You keep chipping away at it. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, it's gonna change. You
mm,
can't have all these positive changes going on around you and nothing, and you're not changing with it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was, I'll be honest with you, bro, that was like the turn in my life when I had gotten old enough to say, all right, you weren't the greatest dad in the beginning. You weren't the greatest person in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But you could change tomorrow, Jay. You know, you could change tomorrow, and tomorrow's another day. You can make it better than yesterday. You could be a better person than you were yesterday. And I preach that to my kids. Preach that to my kids. It's okay to say I'm sorry, and it's okay to say I'm wrong.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You have no idea, like not just with kids, with us, how hard is it to say I'm sorry, I was wrong. That's tough for people, man.
yeah, yeah. Especially when you're in that moment. Like
Right?
when me and my wife are in an argument, I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or I love you, just break that pattern. But at the same time, like it's like you said, take ownership. It doesn't matter how hard it is or how ugly it looks. Just take ownership and go from there.
That was things I had to take away from my pops too. I remember, when I was leading the life I was leading, my father would always say, "Listen, man, understand, you do what you do, but don't call me when you get locked up, man."
Mm,
When you whatever you get caught for, you gotta own that and deal with it after that. And I remember my first time in the cell, I had called my dad.
mhm,
Yo, I need you to come bail me out. And he's like, I told you, you better own that. You made your bed, now lay in it.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? And I catch myself, my son's driving now. He's got a girlfriend. He's chilling. He's hanging out. And I tell him, listen, man, don't make no stupid mistakes out there. For every mistake you make, you got to own that.
mm,
And don't call me because I'm not bailing you out. Because that'll be the easy way out. Me going to bail you out, you'll be home the same night. Nah, maybe you need to take a sleep in that little hard little mattress they give you and stare up at that ceiling. I remember going in that cell, brother, and looking into that mirror, and all I could think about was my kids, and all I could say in my mind was, bro, look at you now. Look at you now, bro. That's all I could say to myself. Yeah, you gotta change. You gotta change. You gotta change. I don't wish that on nobody, man. And I always tell my kids about that experience because, once I did that, once I got locked up and I came home, it was like never, ever, ever, ever again, ever,
mm.
ever again. So I tell my kids about my experiences and I don't hide anything from them because I feel that sometimes parents do hide things from their kids, man, and then
Yeah.
their kids have nothing, they don't know nothing about it. All of a sudden they ran into the same situation while they're hanging out with their friends and they don't even know what to do now, you know?
It's that illusion of we got it all together, but there's so much
Hmm.
more wisdom in showing you that I don't.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's easy to paint this little fairy tale for everybody, man. That's the easy
Hmm.
thing to do. You know what I'm saying? But I just I know that I'm still working on me. I know that I'm working on me and I'm working on to be a better person. I think just all around, yeah, certain experiences in life will
Hmm.
make you, certain experiences in life will humble you, like you said before. You know, it will definitely humble you and make you a better. It's either gonna make you or it's gonna break you. One of the two.
Hmm. I'm curious. I'm not sure if I asked this before. I'm not keeping track of the questions, or at least not these questions that are coming up in our conversation. But I'm curious, what is the one thing that you would want to say to that young man who's maybe 18, 16, 17, maybe even 19? Like he's a dad now. What is one piece of advice that you want to tell him?
Um, be there, and it's not easy. It is never gonna be easy. You're a kid having a kid, man. You know, you're like responsible for a whole life.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, chip away at it, man. Work hard, work hard, but make time for your kid, man. Be there. Don't let the simple baby mama drama or whatever the case may be get into your head to the point where you're not being a presence in your kid's life. Because that's what happens with a lot of these young men. And I'm not talking just because I'm talking from experience because I was there. I was the young man. You know what I'm saying? I was the 18-year-old kid, man, that because of simple arguments with my kid's mother, I wouldn't see my kid for 2, 3 days, a week sometimes, you know,
Mhm.
over being put on child support. I didn't go see my kid for a certain amount of time because I was being ignorant, you know, and it's not just, you have to put time in, but be there financially too, man. It's not easy raising a kid, not only for just a man, but a woman too. It's not easy for a woman to raise a kid by herself, man. That's a big responsibility,
Yeah.
you know. Help out as much as you can. If she has to work, if y'all are not together and she has to work and you can keep your baby instead of sending your baby to a babysitter, you know what I'm saying? That's that one-on-one time you could take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? Take advantage of that time. Try to make if it doesn't work out between you and her, try to make it right for him or her. You know what I'm saying? Try to make it right for the baby. And I'm not saying get into a relationship because the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your life is trying to make it work for the kids because no happiness comes from that, man. You know what I mean? So for all those 18, 19-year-olds out there that's having that baby mama drama, humble yourself, man. Humble yourself, be there, and help out. That's the best advice I can give. And yeah, there's gonna be times, man. She's gonna test you. She's gonna test you, man. She's gonna push them buttons, but it's not every action needs a reaction. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Love that.
Not every action needs a reaction, man. Sometimes saying nothing says a lot, you know. So
For the dad who maybe he lives in another country, he lives out of state, he doesn't see his kid as often because of those things, or maybe it's also he just wasn't in his kid's life, and like he his kid doesn't want his kid is angry, so he's not in their life at the moment.
mm,
What would you want to say to him? What are some advice that you want to say to those men?
call every day, even when he's mad. Call every day, because just like everything else, you keep chipping away at it, it's gonna break. Eventually, even if he's mad, say he doesn't pick up the phone. Fine. Send a text message. Tell him you love him. You know what I'm saying? Let them know, hey, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you're ready to talk, whenever, you know what I mean? But I see a time, when I was apart from my son for 2.5 years, and
Mhm.
out of those 2.5 years, the first year I didn't see him at all when he was in Florida. Um, I called every day, man. We would, even if it was a 60-second conversation or it was a 60-minute conversation, he knew, he knew that every day at around 7:30, 8 o'clock, dad's gonna call, and that's what me getting back to, that time, that little block that you
Mhm.
make for them, you know what I'm saying? And that was my block. That was for me, I was out of work already. I didn't, I had did my little errands around. I did things that I needed to do. But around that time, it was like sacred for me. From 7:30 to 8:30, I would call Isaiah, hey, what's going on? How was school? Whatever, just have these conversations. Same thing with Liliana and Juan Gabriel. I would call them, hey, what's going on? And that would be my 7:30 to 8:30 every day, was making sure that they knew that dad was a phone call away, you know. So I know distance isn't the best, but it shows a lot when you reach out, man. It doesn't take much to send a text message. It doesn't take much to just make a phone call, man. And those things they'll remember. They'll remember those things.
What about for the dad who maybe he's been doing that, but he's still getting pushback? Maybe it's been a year. What would you want to say to him?
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Because I'll tell you, you know, my dad didn't push. And my sister is 40 years old. Okay. There's not a time that I don't go see my sister and this woman cries as if she was a little girl, man. You know,
Mm.
um, you can see that things like that take a big toll. You know what I'm saying? I seen it firsthand. When my sister is 40 years old and she's still talking about how my dad wasn't there for her,
Mhm.
that's big. You know what I'm saying? Even though she doesn't understand how he really was trying to be there, how her mother was doing the things she was doing, she'll never understand that part, you know. But just the fact that it's even a conversation on where it's at 40 years old tells you how much of a toll that can take on a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's important, man, to really be there, man. Be there as much as you can, man. It ain't, and it's never gonna be easy, man. I know I've dealt with the baby mother that always want to argue, always want to fight, always want to, I've also dealt with the baby mother that's like, I'll make any excuse for me to not be able to get my kids.
Mhm.
I've dealt with that too. But here we are. I'm still chugging and pushing away. I'm still gonna go. Those are my kids. If a man has no loyalty to his kids, who does he have loyalty to, man? That is his own flesh and blood, man. If you don't have zero loyalty to your kids, man, who do you have loyalty to? I think
Mm.
as a man, every time I meet a couple, I meet a man, I meet whatever the case may be, you want to really know somebody, but you want to really know something about people, man, don't watch them, watch their kids. You don't have to watch them. They can feed you a dream, tell you how they the greatest person in the world. Watch how their kids are. Watch how their kids interact and react. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And you'll see what type of person you deal with, man. Because kids are like a big piece of clay, bro. You can mold them to what you want them to be. You know what I'm saying? But if you ain't putting in the time, what happens to Play-Doh when you leave it out and you just let it sit on top of the table? It turns into a rock and it ain't worth nothing after that. The same
Mm.
thing with kids. You know what I mean? You're gonna get You gonna get out of them what you put in, you know.
Damn. You're good, man. Oh man, I love the metaphors, and I'm curious, what is for the new dad on the block? Maybe he's expecting, or maybe he's a couple weeks in, maybe a couple months in. What is some piece of advice that you would give to a new dad?
Oh man, he's probably nervous, just like we all are, man. First one.
Uh,
Um, wow. For the new dads, it's definitely a different experience, man. But it will be something that you will never, ever, ever forget, man. You know what I mean? That first time you get to hold your baby, that first year of your child's life, they learn so much. They do so much. That's why they say like the first year is the best year. In the first year they learn how to walk. In the first year they learn how to hold their own bottles. In the first year, you know what I'm saying? They're doing so much. So for the new dads out there, that first year of your child's life is, man, I don't know. For me, soak in every minute you can, you know, soak in every minute you can of every second of their life. You know what I'm saying? But for the new dads, that first one, from the time they're born to the time they're 3 or 4, really be there, man. Really be there, man. It's imperative. You know what I'm saying? You have no idea how I walk into my house and I hear these little feet like it's my 4-year-old. To him, I might as well have been I don't know what's that cartoon where they have a little kid, Catboy. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? Yeah, he loves that. I might as well have been Catboy because when I walk in the door, it's like you know what I mean? He's laughing, he's happy I'm home, gives me the hugest hugs, man. You know what I'm saying? So those things, man, those are priceless things. Can't get those back. You know what I'm saying? So for the new dads out there, man, soak that up, enjoy that. Hold them as much as you can because once they turn a certain age, they're like, man, get away from me. Stop trying to hug me. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. And I just realized I didn't ask you questions with regard to your experience as, raising a daughter who's not yours or not biologically yours, like Rosalia. And again, I want to respect your time. So maybe this isn't the space to do it. I'd love to have you on here again.
Oh yeah. Whatever, man. I mean, I'll briefly touch on it. I will tell you that raising somebody else's kid is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Mm.
There's so much more to prove. You know what I'm saying? Because with Rosalia, in the beginning, she was 4 years old. I'm not, her dad's really not there. And this is a gentleman that let me tell you, I wish I had this when I was going through what I was going through at the time when I couldn't see my kids as much as I wanted to.
Mhm.
I remember one day I told him, listen, bro, I know it's not any of my business, you know what I'm saying, but spend time with her, bro. She misses you, like she loves you. She just and he's like, oh, I don't have a car, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, man, if you want to, man, take my phone number, bro. And I don't mind, I get out of work at this time. I can run, pick her up for you, drop her off at your house. And then whenever you're ready for her to get picked up, give me a call. I'll come get her. And then he's like, oh, I really just don't be having money like that. And I'm like, all right, bro. Well, I'll put a little 20 in her pocket. These kids, man, that money burn a hole in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? That way, you
Mhm.
ain't got to worry about her eating. She got a couple of dollars in her pocket. You ain't got to worry about it. And he's like, well, and I just looked at him and I was just like, you know what, bro? You're just showing me that you don't want anything to do with your daughter, bro. Because I wish I had somebody like me when I was going through the things that I was going through when I didn't have a car to go and pick up my kids. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? When I didn't have the funds and to be able to take them out and do this and do that. I wish I had somebody like me, you know. So from that point on, I realized that, I'm pretty much her dad. That's my baby. Can't hands down. You know what I'm saying? And we weren't even having a conversation on this whole dad stuff. And I wouldn't even told you that she was my stepdaughter. You know what I'm saying? Because to me,
Mhm.
in my eyes, that's my daughter. But it's tough, man. It's tough for me to do as much as I do and everything I do. And sometimes she gets angry, and I know it's not her being angry at me. It's just her being angry with the situation with her father and all that. And she's just like,
Mhm.
"Well, you ain't my dad," and I'm just like, "You might as well hit me with a dagger in my heart." You know what I'm saying? But I'm still here, man. I'm still pushing, and I'm still showing her that I may not be your biological father, but I love you more than anything in this world, and I will do anything for you. But words are easy to say. Words are
Mhm.
easy to say. So throughout the years, I've continued to just show her, man. Just showing her and continue to show her and show her and show her, you know? And then that's where I'm at. It's tough raising somebody else's kid, man. It's not easy.
Dude, we're totally gonna make it happen because that's a conversation worth having, not just for the men who are stepfathers. It's not just a conversation for them, but it's also for the men who probably listen to this who are not the dad, like who are the dad who has someone else raising their kid and what they're
Mm,
thinking. And I think there's something I've said this in every episode is this isn't just for the dads. I think a huge benefit is also going to go to not just like people like me who want to be dads and they're getting this experience before they are, but it's also for the kids, the men, and anyone else who's really listening to this who wishes they heard this stuff from their dad or who wants that perspective or just doesn't see that side and just never heard
right.
these things. This is going to be so beneficial for them. You and I are not going to know. There are going to be people who listen to this and you and I are not going to know that we that they benefited from it. And I think that
That's
that's the
what's up.
beauty of this work, man. That's the beauty of your honesty. I love where you're coming from. I love how you showed up today. Oh man, I could talk to you for another hour, but I do
Yeah,
not
I
want
can
you
too,
to. I
bro.
do not want you to get cold, and I want you to spend time with, what is it called, with Elias and your girl. And last question. This isn't for me. This isn't for any of the other men listening to this or anyone else. This is for five specific people. What is something that you want to tell to each of your kids? To Isaiah, Liliana, Juan Gabriel, Rosalie, and Elias.
um, I think that what I want to say is like, thank you. I owe that all to them, bro. Like everything I went through, all that. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for that. You know what I'm saying? Like how do I how would I how could I give up on them? You know what I'm saying? How could I, bro? So for every stupid decision I made, they were my bounce back. You know what I'm saying? They were my reason. They will continue to be the reason, bro. Like even in my darkest days, you know, going through what I'm going through with my girl and her cancer, and you know, um, they the ones that keep me smiling, bro. They, I can't thank the, I can't thank them enough. I really can't, bro. I'm not at all. You know what I'm saying? Because they deserve the world. They have kind hearts. They're great. You know what I'm saying? So if I could tell them anything, it'll be thank you. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for making me a better person. Thank you for so much. Like I can probably spend another hour thanking them. You know what I'm saying? And they mean the world to me, bro. They really they really are like the center of everything I do, bro. Every decision I make, every little thing I do is for them. You know what I'm saying? So I owe it to them.
Jason, you are. I feel it. You saying it right there at the end. It's you didn't need to say it because I already knew it just from how you spoke and how you show up in the conversation. And that something tells me they already know that. And I think that's,
Oh man, I
dude,
hope
thank you
so,
so much.
bro.
Dude,
I know they do.
hey, it's like with anyone. Just keep telling them, even if they already
Mm.
know. I love that, man.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you so much. You're an
Oh
incredible
man, thank
man,
you,
an
bro.
incredible
I
dad.
appreciate you.
I love thank you for showing up how you showed up. There's so many people who are going to be benefiting from just this conversation. And it's because of how you showed up with that on
Good looking, man.
authenticity. That
Thanks so
commitment.
much, bro. I appreciate you. I really thanks for even reaching. I know my brother had put you on to me and all that, but I really appreciate just you reaching out all together, you know what I mean? And like I said before, I'm getting older. So, you know, everything I see in life, every person I meet in life, like I always take something away from them, you know what I'm saying? And keep pushing, bro. You headed somewhere with this. I promise you that, bro. You're headed
Thank you,
somewhere,
man.
I promise, bro. For
Yeah, I'm
real.
excited for what's being created here. So, Jason, you and I are totally going to connect. This is not the last time anyone
Oh
here is going to
no.
hear
We're
about
going,
Jason or hear from Jason because he's got a wealth of knowledge, man. And
bro,
dude,
let's do it again. I'm
oh, we
willing to
are.
do it. Yeah, man, let's get
Yeah,
another
we're gonna
topic
schedule
going, man.
something right after this.
Yeah, bro. So
uh,
yo, you enjoy your night. Everybody, thanks for taking your time to listen, man. This is coming from just like this real stuff, man. You know, I had my first kid when I was 18, man. I sold drugs, I was stole cars, I was making a living doing this stuff, man. And my kids changed me forever, bro. So if you listening, if you out there, if you out on the block, if you still grinding, you out there hustling, man, change that, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth it, bro. And if you're young, if you're that 18-year-old dad still trying to make ends meet, trying to get your kid diapers, bro, and you out there running them streets, bro, stay away from that. Stay away from that. It's not worth it, bro.